I'm recording now.
Okay, I'm also recording.
Hi, and welcome to Harajuku Data Lake. My name is Morris, and I'm here with Sergio again this week. This week, we're going to be talking about security. So it's a huge topic, and I can't wait to hear what Sergio has to say. But first, a few updates on Harajuku Data Lake, the podcast, the experiment, and the product. We have 9 Twitter followers. Yay! Follow us, hjdl.space. No, space. Twitter. It's somewhere there. We, unfortunately, our entire social graphs are dominated by Facebook, and it's this evil empire that we can't escape from. So we have 51 likes on Facebook, so thank you to everyone for liking us on Facebook. And we also have some subscribers on Overcast, so thank you very much. So with that out of the way, Apple has announced that they are going to produce a new Mac Pro. Sergio, how excited are you?
Oh, a lot. I want to change to Ubuntu right now, so
So you don't care at all?
No. I don't really care so much. The truth.
Okay, so that's our Mac Pro discussion for today. With that out of the way, so security, it's a huge topic, and I know you are heavily involved in security at the company that we work in, and you've worked at other companies involved with security. What's your history with security?
Well, my history in security is that I think this is one of the first topic that I did. I mean, when I started with computers, this kind of playing with my brother, for example, is one of the first things that he was doing something, for example, changing the wallpaper, and then you had the Windows 3.1 and you had to search this hidden file and discover, and then you need the console, and this was tricky, in that moment. And well, in that moment there were no kind of concept of security. The security was very, very kind of easy, open. And well, in that moment it's something that I like, like to go a step forward, a step more ahead of something that was prepared for something, so you try to change something, and something that was not a common thing, that was not. So I started with that, and one day I by just luckily, I was 14 years old. I just access to a huge database with a lot of, it was a hosting that is shared a database, so I just access by like, wow, what happened, It was only root without a password, okay? It's a MySQL database, so it was very easy. It was not that I hacked nothing, but I saw, so many accounts, and I said, wow, what's that? And then I started to read about the topic, so many information, you start meeting people, then contacts, you start with this kind of hacking team. And well, after university, I did my thesis about social engineering because I wanted to know more about security, and this topic was one of the most interesting for me. And I also did quite courses, quite signatures in the university about cryptography and security and this stuff. Later, well, I started with a company that we were pen testing. So we attacked to big banks, corporations. They let us to do from outside the company, from inside.
So just to clarify, pen testing is where a company hires a group of elite hackers to test their systems by attempting to hack them.
Yeah, that's it. We're going to be all time clarifying the words. Sorry.
What does the pen in pen testing stand for?
Penetration test.
Okay, I think that's right.
You are testing me, right? Okay. So later, after this experience, I started in another company, and I care a little bit more in the security stuff. But in this time, I was in a startup, so I was doing the kind of pen test for the first months. But later, I started working more. What was the architecture? What was the security inside the company? With one guy, I prepared a white paper about the security, all the stuff that was implicated, so we could have more possibilities to be certified and all this stuff. Later, well, in the present, I have been more in companies that I create in some parts the architecture, so I create from from zero, and I care about the security from the start, no? And as you said, security involves so many things, no? It involves about monitoring and to know what happens in the platform, about integrity and lose data, so you have it replicate. You talk about privacy, so you let a user to modify his information about if he has sensitive information stored. You have a policy, all this stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting that you got into security in the 90s with your brother, trying to figure out how to do things that were somehow seemed to be impossible. Like, you know, it wasn't, it was just like, it's kind of, I would compare it almost to like the 90s, like the demo and intro scene, where we had these computers that were so incredibly limited, where you'd have like, you know, 25 megahertz processors and, you know, a few megabytes of RAM, and then you would have an incredibly slow internet connection, and you would download like this 4 kilobyte thing, or this 8 kilo, you know, something that even back then was really, really tiny, and you would run it on your computer, and suddenly your computer that you thought could never ever do 3D graphics was like showing this three-dimensional animated scene, and it was only 4 kilobytes, and it was like magic. Like, it seemed completely impossible, and yet it was somehow possible. So I think that's sort of that, like, exploring the limits and the possibilities, and also that learning about how things work is sort of how people tend to end up in the security field.
Yeah, it's very interesting because I have so many friends and I did also that because it was so easy, the security, it was so lax, it was so broken, it was not there. There were no kind of security, this concept. There were people that in that moment they were doing a lot of kind of magic stuff. You know, they went to, for example, these shops. They had a computer and they wrote something over there, and they were able to bypass this kind of concept of security that they had, that it was only to just alt tab and then release that window and move the window and then go inside, no? So it was just funny things, no? It was not something evil, no? The security and the concept, that's very interesting that you mentioned, because before, the kind of people, the kind of black hackers, the people that they are intruders, they want to access information, they were more kind of single people that they wanted to just get more knowledge, no? It was someone who was like seeking information, he wanted to know more, and he was curious, and he just access to things that they were illegally. But right now, we have this big organization, no? There are more these Stuxnets or this virus, no? That they go to nuclear plants, they go to governments, no? So the scene has changed a lot. Before, we had a lot of scenes, magazines, that they are online magazines, and this stuff, it was more kind of cult. It was more hidden knowledge. Right now, everything is like, wow, you can go to every portal and you can find so many information of so many things that it's a topic that has already been examining so deep.
Yeah, well, we're looking briefly back into the nostalgia of the security-free 90s. I think that there's this like Microsoft presentation that I've seen a lot about the evolution of security threats towards businesses, and this is from the defensive perspective of businesses defending against attacks, and it starts with 20 years ago, what they call like script kiddies, just people who are having fun attacking your systems, not because they actually want to get anything, but just because they can. Then sort of the second level of threat that they talk about is organized crime. So they talk about people banding into gangs and attempting to extract money, that sort of thing. And then they talk about the sort of the place we're at with security now is that we actually have state actors with essentially unlimited funding and unlimited budgets and the best researchers in the world working for them that are able to create that are sort of a security threat that you have to know exists. Whether those state actors are, well, yes.
Yeah, that's true. I accept offers from this guy. I'm joking. No, but it's true. It's true. It's very funny that there are cities in Russia that they are millionaire people. They have big cars, all these things, because they are working in all these botnets. They are stealing from the ATMs. They are this is very professional right now. The scams, the phishing, all of this is very, very, very professional right now. It has changed a lot. Before it was, as you said, the script kiddies, people that they didn't even know what was the TCP stack, no? So right now it's like people that they are taking 0 days, things that nobody else know, and they use 3 or 4 just to get into somewhere, no? And for example, right now we know about companies that they have been invested by governments, that they have been following activists, people that they are working with activists about all the kind of things, and they have a lot of resources, and they have very professional people. So that's sad, no? That's sad because we are talking about the privacy, the security, the big topic of all the citizens, no? Of their own countries, of other countries. So we are being followed right now. It's about security and big data, no? They are very near concepts.
Yeah, so to step back from the giant, the giant sort of the world we are living in and the strange state of security and privacy that we're living in, to step back into the specifics of security. I'm looking at our agenda here, and we have basically these 2 parts of both offensive and defensive security. So I guess let's start with pen testing. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. I think that we should try to we should say that we are talking about kind of career. We are not talking about we are gonna be the bad guys.
Right.
This has to be useful for people that they don't know so much about security, but they know that it's very important. So they want to know more about the basic stuff, and they want to know some words, some concepts. So we are gonna talk about the different kind of careers or profiles that you can have in the industry of the security, okay? Well, of course, there are more, and there are mix and all this stuff, but yeah, I think we are going to focus on that.
So sort of the 3 careers that you're sort of talking about, the 3 jobs that people do related to security, are they approach security as pen testers, they approach security from a defensive stance, or they're developers attempting to implement secure systems?
Okay, so about the kind of pen testing that they have been for several months, first I will mention that there is a concept that is called blue team, red team. Red team. This one means that the blue team is the team that is inside the company, and the red team is the one who is attacked the company. So what they try is under something that they have under control. So you don't want any downtime. They led to the red team to test the platform, and the blue team try to figure out what is happening. No, so you have some guys that they are hacking you, and there are other guys that they are learning from some guys that they're hacking, and you don't expect nothing. No, so it's a bit like the Chaos Monkey, that there are a tool that is randomly doing something in your network. So these guys, they are just trying all the stuff that they can. So for example, maybe they are scanning your the ports. So if you are in the blue team, you can say, oh wow, they are scanning. So I know the behavior that is going to happen when they are scanning. No, and there is another concept that is called purple team, but I have never ever listened about it. That is a bit like a team that is between both of them, and then it makes more efficient. But if blue team, red team is the concept that everybody knows and everybody talks about that. Oh, I am the red team and I'm gonna hack that. Oh, I am the blue team, I'm gonna solve the problem. Or I'm gonna monitor what is happening. Okay, then. Another thing that we can talk very, very, very important is the SOC. The SOC is the Security Operations Center. This is the place that so many people use to work, that they are focusing security. This is like the center that is linked with other centers, other organizations, big organizations, and they are sharing the 0 days, the kind of vulnerabilities, new things that happens. For example, if there is a worm or a virus that is affecting to some databases, they are gonna relate information. Bugs, issues, what is happening. For example, when we had this kind of big problems, what's his name? The Bleed SSL, I think.
Heartbleed.
Heartbleed, that's it. So when they, before release to the public, these SOCs, the Security Operations Center, they already have this information. So they are able to fix their issues before anybody else. So this is kind of, they trust each other and they share the information, and then they also care about the security of the internal networking. Because at the end, when you are in these big corporations, you are not talking only about the API and a database. You are talking that every employee has a machine. Every employee is using the machine for access to web page. There are so many devices, and well, the security, we should understand that every time that we want to log something, there is going to be a kind of degradation in the performance, in the latency. So the user experience is worse. So you have to be very good to do this balance.
Yeah. So the security. The
Yes.
security operations center is like a physical place in these companies. It's where you get together your security. No?
It's a department. It's a kind of department who is connected to very sensitive information. So you can even read, for example, emails of the people, or depend your business. But
Oh, so it's like it's the group of people that have access to sort of everything and have to see the entire system as opposed to just the individual parts of the system.
yeah, mostly, yeah. They have signed some DNAs that they cannot say anything about what they are seeing, or.
Okay.
Okay, then when you are pen testing and you are working, yes, with these companies, you have two different concepts, that is black box and white box testing. That it means that when you are in black box, it means that you are outside and you don't know the code. You don't know anything that is over there, so you have to enumerate, you have to check the versions, you have to research what is there, what they fix, everything. You are blind, so you don't know nothing about the company. And then the other one, that is white box testing, is when you know already the product. For example, you are analyzing the code, you have more information about, okay, you know, for example, the salt of the password, so you are able to kind of do a better brute force and measure better what is the weakness of that. All of this. So this is the two big concepts also that they use to, when you are doing the plan for the company, you used to charge, no, by different plans. So okay, you are 2 weeks doing black box and 2 weeks doing white box, and then other 2 weeks internally in the company inside, so you can access to the Wi-Fi, for example. Okay.
Just out of curiosity, so basically the black box is where they don't give you any hints about the system, and then the white box is where they give you some hints about how the system is constructed.
Yeah.
Just if you're starting doing black box, like how far can people get?
Every time that we did this kind of security test, we always got the most. We were able to be in the admin panel, doing all the stuff that you imagine. Okay, and believe me, all the times. And the white box, maybe white box, we can point to the kind of code analysis. So you have the source code, and then you can analyze that. But believe me, with the black box, that's you can do magic. It's impressive. It's impressive.
Wow. Wow. Well, while we're here, just like a random, I mean, is it possible to build perfectly secure systems?
Well, I don't think so, but I will say that mostly secure, and security is like, it's very difficult. Here is the concept, and this is right now. Okay, with the time, the people has been more specialized, and right now we have more this cool stuff. People very specialized that they are measuring what is the effort that has to do an intruder, attacker, and the effort that you have for fixing something. So what you want is not make it secure, but so difficult that a kind of intruder or organization, a criminal organization that want to go inside your kind of database or something, is going to be difficult enough. And maybe they are going to have problems, because if you detect them, you're going to report the police, all of this.
Okay, so it's not necessarily, so in the defensive security, it's not so much about building ideally perfect systems, but as raising the bar high enough so that people choose other targets.
That's it. That's the response.
Cool.
Okay.
All right.
So about the pen testing, well, you used a lot of automatic tools, scan tools that you want to check the ports, enumerate the machines. You can check also public vulnerabilities. There are some places that every time that you discover a vulnerability about a software, it's being shared. So you can use like for a good reason. In this case, you have the permission of the company. Okay, what is important in this case, and I didn't was going to mention this, but is because you are doing the pen testing, they know, and you have to notice. Okay, it's not everything the security and you do a SQL injection and that's it. No, it's about, okay, we are in coordination. You know which one is my IP address. You know that I'm gonna access to these machines. All of this. You are not doing something so random and you are like crazy and I'm deleting the stuff. You have to be very careful at the end. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Another thing that is quite interesting is about capture the flag. Capture the flag is some kind of challenge that you can access. Well, there are some web page we can share later. That they are they are challenges that there are some people that they create. How can I say challenge? But it's like an application or a web or a problem that you have to solve in a genius way. You have to think about, how can I solve this puzzle? No, so this puzzle is about security, and you have to use the last tools. You have to innovate. You have to think a little bit more than you used to think about. And it's very interesting because you are learning with this capture the flag that they are very different topics. For example, forensics, malware, web, all these things. You can learn a lot, no, about what is the trending, no, in right now. What is the tools, for example, right now that what I remember, no, it was Golang. That was the language was released, and then they create some challenge that they were to bypass the compiler of the Go. But the problem is that the Golang doesn't have any kind of flaw in the design, so it's very difficult to bypass this. But these guys, they did in purpose. They generate the exec. They generate in a way that it was possible to do that. So it's something that is not the real situation, but is near, but there is some kind of tricky things. And if you are very smart, you are going to notice something that is wrong. They're going to give you some hints, and then you are going to say, oh, wow, that's cool. And you are going to solve it. And you can play with teams, you can play alone. And there are, as I said before, we are going to share a URL that is about all the write-ups. So once the challenge is done, because sometimes you play for money or they write up how it was the way to solve it. So if you read a lot and you are in this environment, you learn a lot. In the past, I played quite to these games, and they're very interesting. Capture the flag.
And they really are games where it's like it's a slightly contrived environment, but there is a challenge and there's a goal and there's sort of like something that you're trying to achieve.
Yes, and they are very near to the blue team, red team, because when you go to Las Vegas, for example, to the Black Hat or something like that, you used to play you have to protect the machine and you have to attack to the other machines, and you are a team, no? So you are doing this. It's very interesting, but the people over there is so smart. It's another level. That's another level. Right now, I'm so bad in this.
Okay, so security engineering.
Yeah. Well, security engineer, we could be talking here all the day. It's about more. What I discovered in my thesis was that it's not about social engineering, but it's about the concept that to hack something, you don't have to only focus in a technical vulnerability. You have to focus also about what is doing the program. Because sometimes the own feature, if you chain some of the features that you have, maybe you find a security vulnerability. Okay, you can find a bug just chaining some of the problems that has the application, because you can, for example, send an email every time that you register one account. So you only have to automaticate everything to create an account and send an email. So this could be a problem of the platform. Or for example, you don't have a rate limit. Okay, so I think you have to use the own logic of the application to discover something that is worse. No, it's like small vulnerabilities, they are gonna lead to a big one. That's the concept. that I want to say, because social engineering, believe me, is just go and hack the human side of the company. So for avoid the social engineering means that you don't need any employee, because if you have one employee, you can be hacked. Because at the end, we are humans, and you can be bypassed by psychology. You can use so many tricks, or even right now, for example, it's very popular to call to the support and say, "Oh, I have here my baby, he's crying, and can you recover my password of this card at my mail? I forgot my mail, I forgot." And you are recovering more small pieces of information, and when you have so many small pieces, then you have the big picture, and you can identify someone or doing something bigger. Of course, social engineering or even security is something that it needs time. You know that everything can be hacked, but it needs time. So one of the last concepts that they exist in security, and they are getting more relevance, is to change your own platform. And it means that you have a platform that, for example, you are in Amazon, and in several months, if you discover that they are trying to hack you, you change all your design of the machines, how it works, the firewalls, all of this, and you create a new one. So the attacker that he has been gathering information for several months, they have to start over. And that's a huge cost. So, but that's crazy, of course. That's not something that you can do, no? But for example, also about honeypots, you can create honeypots, and they can waste a lot of time, and you can retrieve a lot of information, because in the moment that, and this is another amazing topic, is in the moment that they are hacking you, you are hacking them. So you are trying to make some kind of 0-day in the browser that you can access to their computer. So yeah, this happens, and this is being tried right now. For example, there are pages that they give you a list of Tor nodes, the Tor exit node, so you can discover who is coming from a place that is more probable that this guy is gonna try something wrong. So maybe in the moment that you detect that he's coming from one of these places, or these IPs that they are coming from Thailand, for example, you are gonna trace and profile this guest. So every request, every command that he executes towards the servers, you are gonna recompile and you are gonna list. No, so that's very interesting topics. That's amazing. But not every company has the resources. He has to spend all the money just for that. No, so that's it.
So to back up a second, like honeypots are intentionally insecure systems that you leave on your network as a way to monitor people who are attacking your systems.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So ultimately the problem is nobody cares.
Yeah, the problem is that when you are working for big companies and you are just a team that they recruit and you are an external person, if you don't report something that is terrible, for example, you have a backup of the database over there, they are not going to really care too much about you. And that's a big problem, because you spend so much time for discover something, and as I said, you discover really big things, and they don't care. The next year you're gonna find the same problem. So it's a kind of disillusion. You are unmotivated, no? But the truth is that doing this kind of stuff, you get quite money. I mean, this is the kind of things that is in very recognized. But this is like something that is like, okay, it's more business sales. You at the end you want to sell a product, because selling this product you are gonna earn more money. This is something that you want to learn about this, but at least for me, it was a bit disillusional when these business people, they were like, okay, well, I don't care. Right now, there are some companies that what they design, and I already proposed 5 years ago, is that you have like the unit test. So you are a company that they hire you, and then you are going to prepare a test. So they are automatic tests for the vulnerabilities and security stuff that you find, and you are going to retry every day or every month. So you're going to have the history about, okay, they fix it this day. Okay, now it's from red to green, for example. So you are going to be, it's like continuous security. Is this new trending that right now they call security DevOps. So this security DevOps, later we're going to talk about this, but this is the way. Okay, so in the pen testing, the problem is that the big corporations, if this is not something really critical, they have this kind of contingency plans, and they are not really going to care.
And those are like business contingency plans that sort of assume that, well, a little bit of hacking is okay because as long as it doesn't threaten the core business, it's okay.
Yeah, I remember one example is that one big company, they finished a new product, a new application that they wanted to use internally, and some days before they were going to release, they let us with one staging environment. And well, we hack it in so many ways. Everything was so bad designed. Because that's a big problem. When you are doing a software and you don't care about the security from the first moment, that's terrible. And that software was terrible. And they release. Even we report so many things. They couldn't do nothing. It was done. It was solved. So they had to do so. We did a pen testing just to say that was wrong, but later, the document was forgotten, no?
Wow. So it turns out you don't actually have to continually upgrade your skills as a pen tester because you can just simply come back next year and find the same vulnerabilities and sell your report again to the same company.
Yes. That's and the problem becomes that there are some companies that they sell their service very cheap. So when you are trying to be more kind of quality, better, more talent, they don't appreciate, no, because then they can hire another company that is cheaper, no, and these cheaper companies just have people from the university, or people that they don't really like that, and they are learning, and well, the things that they find is another level. So, but that's how it works. All the companies, but here is the same.
Okay, so that section was all about pen testing and working as a pen tester. What about defensive security?
Well, defensive security, I don't know so much about, well, I did 1 year in a kind of postgraduate about more the theoretical security, that it means that you have to write reports, you have to know more, what is just papers, okay, a checklist, a certification, regulation, something that you have to say, okay, I have everything cipher, I have SSL, my communication is that I have backups, I can restore the backups, so all of this I have studied, okay, but for me it was really boring. I wanted to know because it was the other side of the coin, but I never went deeply in that. I mean, I know, but I have never exercised like this because for me it was like, wow, it can be terrible, boring. It's terrible. There are 3 types. Let's just mention that. Is that when you are hired by your own company. So what we said before about the SOC, that the Security Operations Center, that they can do their own certification. They can check and regulate what you have, the status. It can be checked, audit by the external agent, okay? And you are paying the external agent. So this is someone who wants to be happy, or he wants to be friendly with you. So you are paying for something that you are going to be like, okay, they are going to tell me that everything is all right. And then there is the other one, the last one, that is the most difficult one, is that when an external company wants to do an external one over you. So they can tell you that you are the worst because they don't care. They're going to be paid, no? So this is the due diligence. So yeah, this is the 3 types, and it's very interesting to know about all this stuff. But if you work like this, you have to be like a salaryman, no? With a suitcase and all.
So this is about like security architecture and theory of security and designing secure systems, and also about implementing getting your system stamped as secure by some organization. So like, and the 3 things you're talking about is like defensive security from the perspective of being a security architect within a company versus somebody who is working from outside a company and is hired to examine the securities of a company, versus security architecture that is enforced by an external party, like a vendor, as part of due diligence.
That's it.
Okay, and you find this terribly boring?
Yeah. At least for me. But as I said, here is even bigger salary than the pen tester. So this is a huge market because it's more like a lawyer. It's like someone who is gonna certify that you are right. But and this is the most interesting thing that I discovered, no, after doing this postgrad. is that everything is focused in who is the responsible. And it means that what they want is that if something happens, do they have the mechanism to point to someone? Because if something is broken, can they detect who did that? For example, when we talk about security, it's not only, and maybe we got confused before, this is not only by the people who is externally to the company. Maybe there is filtration inside the company. Maybe there is an ex-employee who is blackmailing you, asking you for money. Maybe someone who is releasing information to another company. Maybe so. This stuff of security is more than just people that they are outside the company. Maybe it's inside. So imagine that you are working a bank and you from inside steal money, no? So they want to know who is the responsible, who can be with the law and say, oh, we lost these many millions, so you're gonna be the person who is gonna pay that. Even later, they never recover the money. They just want to have someone to say, okay, it was their fault. That's why it appears anonymous. It was so bad for these companies, because in that moment they couldn't point to someone and say, oh, it was this guy. No. If you don't have someone who was the author of the crime, you cannot do nothing. You cannot say, oh, there were several people who did that. No, it was one person. So who was the person? And with the laws, you cannot decide for several. So that's what matters, okay? Which one was the IP address and who registered the router of this IP address, and you were the only one who access to the router of this IP address. So that's what it's going, all the kind of paperwork that we are talking right now, okay? And also mention is about the privacy. They focus a lot about the privacy, if the user is going to be able to change his data, all this sensitive information, if you have medical information, if you have cards information. But all of this, at the end, is just a business that they create as the same that they create the root certificates. So you access to a web page, and then you have the lock there with green. So it's the same. It's something that is so expensive. They move so many millions, but later, as the employee who is working on that, it's very, you die.
It's interesting. I was just thinking, it's almost like we're not talking about three different careers, but we're talking about like three different personality types, where there is the pen tester is the personality type that likes to explore and tinker with things and see what is possible, and like solving puzzles. And then there's like the security architect type, and the security architect type is somebody who likes to make a lot of money, for example, but who has similar talents to like a lawyer. So somebody who can spend a lot of time reading and implementing a specific specification to meet some certain compliance requirements and not find it excruciatingly boring. And I think the third one that we're going to go to is the developer, who are people who might not be directly interested in security, but because of the work that they're doing, have to be interested in security.
I will not say that, because you hurt my feelings.
Oh, no. Of course we're interested in security. I'm interested in security.
No. I think the third type, is this person he cares a lot about security, but he wants to be relevant. He wants to be like, okay, I'm working on something that is going to be useful. For example, the people that I moved to Docker, we talk about, these guys, they're very good in security, and they implement, they have the kind of dirty hands, like they wrote the code for make this happen, that, okay, we are going to manage the project to make that we have a fingerprint in the image, we have all the yachts with the notary that is a register. So they care about, they are there. They are not someone who is just gonna write a paper or a contingency plan and they are gonna leave and they're gonna say, okay, so some guys, they're gonna prepare that and do that. No, these guys, they're gonna propose, they're gonna make it happen, and they are how can I say, the people that they are more challengers, no? That they want something that is like, wow, it's gonna be crazy. One of the things that, let me mention that for me, this is the kind of sentence that you listen from someone and you say, wow, that's right, no? I think so, even I never thought about, is that when you work in security, you must be the kind of you need knowledge about everything at all. You are the guy who is not like, oh, I'm not gonna implement this, but I need to know how it works. So when you work in security, I love it because you need to know about everything. One day you are working in security in Android, another day in security in iOS, another day with Java, another day with Go, another day with servers that they are SAP, another day you are, well, so many different systems because every company uses architecture, a design. So you are learning all the time how they design that, no? And well, that's very interesting. It's a moment that if you are listening and getting information, well, you learn so much. The problem is that at the end it's like, well, okay, I learned a lot, but you feel like you are empty in some way. So in a moment, and right now I do that, I prefer to be in the first line, to propose and do kind of implementation. Not implementation, but the connecting, all the service that they make go out. They meet a provider. You have a federate OpenID. You choose the kind of cipher that you want. You care about the integrity of the data, how you can replicate the servers, all the kind of defense in deep. That all the kind of define the layers, what is going to happen, how you can measure, you can use dashboards to detect behaviors, you can track devices, APIs. For example, there is another concept that's very, very good. This is a bug bounty. Bug bounty means it's like an kind of open web page, okay? It's a company that you are going to have pen testers, and every time that they discover something in your platform, you are going to reward them. So you can work as a pen tester for so many companies, and I have done that. I have worked as a pen tester, and I also had the opportunity to know about what is the site of the guy who is preparing that. So you can make this kind of challenge for people, and they legally can access to your domains, and they are going to report. They cannot modify nothing at all, and you are going to reward there. So this is some kind of legal stuff. But that's very interesting because if you are a pen tester, you're going to learn from so many systems, and if you are a developer, you are also and you are kind of developer manager. You are going to have to care about so many things. Right now, there are some white papers in internet. You can search very easily with Google about how to prepare a right bug bounty. You cannot prepare a bug bounty if you have never checked your security. You have to first check your security, have some companies that they check, and then you want the last one because more hands and more eyes, they are going to see more than yours. Okay, so even you are very good, you prefer a bigger quantity of people, and this is very cheap, and you have also a kind of image, like, oh, I'm caring about the security of my users, so you can see that I am letting people, so you are more transparent. So it's something that is amazing to do. But right now, that like this bug bounty, there are some more other tools and everything that we mentioned before, honeypots. So many things, big data to play with the analytics, statistics, behaviors. That's something very, very, very interesting. Yeah.
So back up a little bit. So what are we talking about with the developer? Like this is somebody who is a security focused developer, or is this somebody who is a developer who happens to be doing security?
I think the definition is tricky because it depends on the company. Because if you arrive to a company that you are less than 50 persons, you cannot be working only in security. And why? Because you don't have enough to work on. Because at the end, you are going to review the security, you are going to care, but once that is everything checked, you don't have enough computers, applications, connections. You are a small company, so you don't need one person only focusing that. But in the moment that the company is growing, you need, for example, to point to a privacy officer data, who is going to be responsible for with the government, who is going to be responsible to run this bug bounty, who is going to report the issues when the system is down, who to contact, what systems do you need for doing the big data about if there is something happens in the company, who is going to be there, for example, to teach to the other employees about kind of privacy, sensitive information, password management, for example, about to use strong passwords or to use some software that can help you to enable the two authentication. So I think that or for example, even you can implement things for the company that they are focused in security. For example, in my case, I developed one of the features about, okay, every user is going to be able to see the list of last IP address that access to the platform. No? So you have these kind of events, no? That we could say, oh, this is not security, it's a feature, but well, is related with the security. So I think that you need someone who double check that, no, and who is gonna be more focused in that side. So I think it depends on the size of the company.
Yeah, so companies as they get larger will have people who are working full time on security, but in a small company, it's something that everybody ends up doing.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so one thing that I security is a really hot topic in universities right now. Like a lot of universities have like programs where you can learn where instead of within your computer science program, you'll have like a hardware engineering course but you also have like a security focused course. And I think people want to know, they see that there's a huge need for people who are knowledgeable about security, and they see that they can get like a really good job, really good high paying job if they take this computer security course. So I think a lot of people want to know, is that interesting? And I think my kind of perspective on it is that, I personally want to build things and I want to create things, and I want to create secure things, but I'm interested in security and I'm interested in security tangentially, but ultimately I'm more interested in creating new things than in securing existing systems.
Mm-hmm. That's what used to happen. Yeah.
So what's your advice to people who are thinking about whether they should study computer security or what they should study?
I think that, as you are mentioned, it's a very interesting topic, and I say to everybody to learn about security because it's a huge extra, no? But security has to be as a feature, like the same as performance, no? You cannot deploy application that it takes 50 seconds to load, no, the web page. So it's exactly the same. At the end, it's something that is basic. It's the same that you release something that the design about interface is terrible, no? So I think that is very good when you are like, okay, I'm interested in security. So if I am somewhere and they tell me there is a talk or something, I'm gonna listen and I like it and I want to learn more. But it's not something that you have to be only focused in that. And when you are a person that you try to mix several topics, like I think in my case right now, I think that I have a good background of security, but I'm working also, as you mentioned, about developing more architecture, more latency, performance. So in the moment that you do like this, you are more evaluated. In the moment that you are only a pen tester, for example, even the salary is good compared to others, it's not so good. You are going to have much more with other kind of practice. And even you are a developer who knows security, you are going to be much more evaluated than just a plain pen tester, because at the end, what you are releasing is just some pages, no? Some kind of template saying, oh, you have SQL injection, solve it, or you don't have nothing, no? Because we didn't find nothing, and they are going to pay you the same, no? These kind of first jobs. So I think my advice is, well, that's something trendy, but don't forget anything else. I mean, find what is your passion, no? It's like maybe big data, for example, is so interesting too. So, or data mining, hardware, programming, I don't know, whatever you like, but I think that don't be crazy and say, oh, because this is topic right now, I should learn about this because that's trending. No, what I recommend is the top 10 persons of everything, any specialization, they are gonna have always a good job. So what I recommend you is realize what is your passion and what you love, and then spend and invest and do what you like, you know? So I like security. I know I start very early. I know a lot of friends of that, and I am in several mail lists. I read a lot of articles. I follow web pages. I do my own experiments. So there are people that, well, they know the problem. The problem now I realize is the problem that they don't know so much about security, and they think that they know a lot. And these guys, they are the first ones that they are like, oh yeah, everything is safe, don't worry. And it's like, what? And it crashed. Okay? I think that's the problem. No, not someone who is like, oh, I know a little bit and I know my limits, than the person who is not kind of nothing about humble. He's not humble at all. And he's gonna be more aggressive, like, oh yeah, I'm very good, I'm proud, I have always experience. So this guy, he's gonna be more the problematic. For example, I listen a podcast about social engineering, and this guy, one of the things they say is like, wow, I have been kind of I fall for some phishing attacks, no? Because they are using spear phishing. They are very, very, very custom in the right moment, in the right time, with the right person, faking some information with the right information from the boss, from whatever. And even these guys that they are working all the time, they are professionals of this. They are falling for these kind of tricks. So. Security is like that, but don't be only focused on security if you really love another thing. That's it.
Yeah, I think it is definitely important to be a little bit humble when talking about security because you're not perfect.
Yeah, do you remember the podcast that we talk about the SSL and the devices that they were devices, for example, routers that the version was updated. We were talking about IoT,
Internet of Things.
and we had the devices that they cannot be updated, so they are going to be in 20 years. We are sure that they're going to have some kind of vulnerability, no? So that's the kind of stuff that is like, wow, nobody thought about that. What is happening, no? So let's try to avoid this case.
Okay, so I mean, we have like the final thing that we want to talk about is like the cool things that are happening in the security world today. But before we get there, I have we kind of touched on it a little bit with like people going around like talking about thinking that they know a lot of security. But I think there's one of the kind of weird things about it, like IT security, is that there's definitely there's a culture of IT security. And it's like, you know, everybody in IT security always makes fun of the mainstream world's view of IT security and hackers as like, you know, guys in like hoodies and like dark rooms and whatever. But even though everybody in the security industry kind of makes fun of this stereotype of people who work in security, I feel like they also sort of love it a little bit. Like they kind of enjoy the idea that what they are doing is like, you know, you guys are just like developing something, but this is like the real work. This is like lives are at stake. There's like billions of dollars and like, you know, like, oh my God, like this is like everything I do is like super, 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 super important.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. One of the things is that, these people, they are all the time challenging each other. So these guys, they are very competitive. They are, as I said, no, they kind of capture the flag to be the smarter, no, who is able to realize faster, and they're very competitive. It's true. When you are in a campus party, for example, and you see some people that they are working of this challenge, you're gonna see a lot of yellows, a lot of ego, a lot of it's true. It's about psychology, and we could talk so much about. But this is true. It's true. You are right. And I have seen the same, and I think that one of the things that some people, near people, told to me is that I have been kind of humble about this, so they like it. But it's true. There are so many people that is like, whoa, I discovered a bug and I am the best of the world. Everybody have discovered a bug in somewhere, so it's true. And the second thing is these people that they work in security and they are more managers. They are more in the SOC, no, in the operations center. They are the best paid of the of all the places. You are gonna have the best salary, but the best salary and the highest salary because you have a lot of responsibility, because it depends everything of you. And well, that's something that is true, but that's something sometimes it's also a kind of like, well, that's an excuse, no? As I said before, the kind of lawyer, no? You are the kind of person who is like, oh yeah, trust me because I give you this trust, no? The certificates, no, that we have is like, oh, just trust the certificate because I'm paying to this browser to have my CAs, my certificate root inside, and later we discovered, no, some days ago that which company was
Symantec.
yeah, that they got this hack, and the other guys, Let's Encrypt, that they were also using for phishing, and so everything is about trust. Security is equal trust, and right now there are so many internet of shit, no? So
It's the
yeah,
it's the security internet of shit as
yeah,
well.
it happens. It happens, but let me say the last thing is,
Uh-huh.
in all the fields happens the same. In everywhere that you can see, it's like, oh, he's the best doctor. Oh, this guy, he has made this building that is so tall. This, I mean, I know what you said because I know I have been there. I have seen these people. I know that they have this ego, and they are more than the kind of junior or middle developer, no? So they think that wow, they are better than. But I think that if you go inside other field, you are gonna find other industry. You are gonna find the same kind of psychology patterns. I think so. I think so. Very politics. You know, a lot of politics, no, between the different people. So I think it's something that you have to manage. At the end, it's something that you know that the problem is going to be there, but you have to manage the problem. And depends how skilled you are, no? And you can use the social engineering to manipulate the people. Yeah.
Okay, so my advice to you all is don't be too arrogant about security.
Yes. That's good advice. I like that advice.
Okay, so finally, I think you wanted to talk about a few cool things that are happening in the security world right now.
Yeah.
Do share.
Well, one of them that I read some days ago about the shared responsibility is about to try to everything that is happening in the company, try to escalate by levels. It means that, for example, if some employee is doing some command, you should try to send a message to that person, some notification to their phone, something that he can check in real time, say, oh, no, this is an alert, this is critical, or this is something that I am monitoring, and that's all right. So I like a lot this concept about, okay, because it means to have this kind of control. This means that you have control over your organization. You know that when something is happening that is not designed for that, so the purpose is not that, you're going to receive an alarm. And this is something that not all the companies can do. This is something that you have to spend so much time to discover everything that can be possible and everything that cannot be possible. For example, if you detect that there are more than this many packets in the network, okay, you raise an alarm. For example, if you are a company and they are stealing your database, you know that maybe they have to move more than 1 terabyte of information. So if you discover that you are by maybe 10 megabytes by second and you get 100 megabytes per second, maybe you can raise an alarm and say, oh, who is moving so much data? Or maybe that's normal. So you can detect which computer come from and to where it's going, so you can close these connections, no? So there are a lot of things to work on that, and then the communication, no, with some kind of bots or something to communicate directly to the employee, saying, oh, are you here? Are you in this country? Are you in Thailand right now? Are you in? That's the kind of stuff that right now is very popular, and it's normal.
So this is like you sign into a system and then you get a message over Slack like, hey, you just signed into the system from wherever. And you don't even necessarily, you don't have to do anything unless you happen to notice that it's not you.
That's it. Another one that we can talk about is about the hardware. Right now there are so many hardware that is very tricky with the security. For example, pen drives that you think that is just a pen drive, and this is a keyboard, a mouse, and this can send signals and write something for you, and very fast, in just 1 second, he can write more than 20 keys, and he can write something like, okay, download this file from internet and execute. So you can have a rootkit in a couple seconds, you have something installed over there. So, or for example, you can bypass the security of something that it only has a input, a pen drive input, a USB input. So this is very interesting because the hardware look like something that maybe is like, for example, there are quite news about in China that they got inside the factories and they insert a backdoor, a hardware backdoor inside some devices. So when you got the iPhone, you have a backdoor with the iPhones, and it's like, wow, everything that you are sending to a backup that they have in China or wherever. So yeah, about the hardware is terrible. It's something that is epic. We already had one chapter about iOS security, so that's it. But there are so many tools that, or you connect to a Wi-Fi, and this Wi-Fi is the Wi-Fi pineapple, and that's how.
I mean, this is the sort of the really interesting thing about a really interesting topic in security right now, because it's like so many things are not exactly what they seem. Like we tend to think of like a computer as one system, but in fact, like we think of a pen drive as a pen drive and a computer as a computer, and we trust that the pen drive, we're going to stick it in our computer, and it's going to act as a external disk. But since it's actually connecting by this USB interface, that pen drive can emulate a keyboard. It can emulate anything it likes, anything it wants to. It could be running its own. It probably is running its own firmware. It could do anything. And then, so that's, the pen drive is not necessarily a pen drive, and the computer is also not necessarily one unit anymore. So I know one interesting thing we see today is that I think one of the more prominent examples is that like the touch bar on Macs is actually a little, it has its own processor, it has its own operating system, and even though it's physically integrated into the larger computer, it's actually running something sort of similar, I believe, sort of similar to like watchOS. Mm-hmm. A sort of older example. So, and we obviously expect that Apple will take care of that and secure it as part of and make sure it gets updates and whatnot. But there was an interesting example several years ago, and if I can find the article, I'll definitely put a link to it. But it might be kind of hard. But it was some security researchers who found this laptop by, I think it was a major laptop maker, where it had a cellular modem in the laptop, and the cellular modem actually was running a different operating system and was connected into the rest of. So even though it's physically integrated into the laptop, its interface with the laptop is USB. And it turned out that it's like, oh, well, once you're here, you have this entirely other system that's like, it's a full Linux computer with, 256 megabytes of RAM and a disk and everything else, and there's no way to deliver updates to it. So it's like having a little built-in Internet of Things device that is never going to get updates physically within the same box of your computer. So I don't know. I think the stuff that's going on right now is this is the cool, interesting stuff that's going on.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. There are so many things like that. Yeah. And it's going to be evolving, so you have to be prepared. No? And, well, yeah. Okay, the last one I wanted to mention about the coolest things is about something that is called behavioral game theory. We will leave a link for slides that I think that they are so interesting. And well, the idea about that is to be more kind of objective about what I mentioned before about the kind of difficulty for everything. So you have to do kind of a decisional tree. So this decisional tree, what it takes is, okay, we have this, we are from both sides, okay? You are an attacker, and then you try to access to the for example, Office, okay, or the application. Okay, so we check that you can access to the application, you can enumerate, or you cannot. Okay, so with this decision, like, you can access and bypass the security measure, or you cannot pass, what is the next step? So at the end, what you have is a tree that is taking decision, like, okay, you can bypass that, or you cannot bypass. And then what you do is the things that they have a bigger ratio, so it means that it's easier to hack, then you are going to invest more resources. For example, we know that almost everybody, a big ratio, a percentage of people, they got hacked because phishing. Okay, so you have to invest in the big phishing, but very few people is going to be hacked by a 0-day. Okay, so to invest to protect against a 0-day, that's something that you need to have something very valuable behind you to protect against that. So instead of caring about that there is a zero day in your database that nobody can access directly, maybe you have to worry about that everything is in a VPC, you have a firewall or something like that. So this is like one concept that is make everything very rational, and then suppose that they are hacking you. So from that, okay, you have other points that they are pointing there. That is, for example, about try to change your infrastructure, fluctuating your infrastructure. That means that, okay, change directly everything that you have over there. Or for example, also falsify, the information, false positives, that you are showing to the intruder something that is not really what it was, no? And in the same way that they are proposing something that you have to move to that direction, you have to stop also doing things that we have been doing in the past, no? That they are more static strategies, no? Static, like, okay, we are going to define that, and because it's going to be impossible. No, it's not impossible. It's going to need time. So it's some kind of talk, and this person that made the presentation, she's very good with all the kind of big data analytics, and this person is actively researching about this topic. So it's amazing, to see that we are so deep in the security, and the concerns that we have right now, they are so far away, from what we thought 20 years ago, that everything was possible. Right now it's like, wow, I try everything, and well, you need a bug bounty, but you need a 0 day, but you need, and with projects like the Zero project of Google about the security, Project Zero, right? Everybody is earning something. Everybody wins, It's a win-win, for all the community. Like, oh, we discovered something. Okay, we are gonna notify. We're gonna release the fix, and then in some days we are gonna disclosure the information and move forward, and everybody is gonna update that, and so that's amazing, how everything has improved. But every time it's gonna be more difficult to be a pen tester. But in the big companies, okay, so if you are kind of attacking a company that is really good, I think, and they have the right personnel, it's going to be more difficult. There are going to be more tools. The concept we said about the defense in deep is going to be better, but also there are going to be more things in the market that they are going to be very easily, so it's going to be the easy apps, okay, let's call apps, but it's going to be the easy apps and the hard apps, the easy companies and the difficult companies. So it's going to be in extreme, it's something that is very difficult, other things that they are very easily, So right now, if you work as a pen tester and you try to hack something that is really worth to hack, believe me that it's going to be terrible difficult.
Wow.
Yeah.
But then there are still the companies, though, that are going to be very easy to hack because they just simply are not. They don't know what they're doing.
Sure. Or also in these big companies that they have already everything pretty good, they are going to release new products, and you are always going to have to change, or because they are changing the language, or because you are forgetting something. Security is not only about hacking something; it's about also a fallback. It's like, okay, I know that if I am jumping from an airplane, I'm not gonna fall to the floor, and because I have my parachute. But you will have another parachute, right? You have the fallback, because it's not about that it's not gonna open, Maybe the second one also fails, But it's this kind of fallback. So security is the same concept. It's like, okay, if something is happening, I am ready, for the consequence. So I already anticipate and I prepare. So if you are prepared, it's gonna be safer. It's the same, like, for example, we haven't managed it, but to have backups, is that something that we know that it's useful?
It is definitely useful.
Yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts about security?
Yeah. The last one, and I think is also one of the most important. We already mentioned, but it's education. I think that you have to always update it. You have to read a lot. You have to be updated, and I think companies, they should do this the same that they do courses about management and courses about whatever. I think that they have also to show about security, and because there are always going to be people junior, and a lot of times the people that they know more, they just think that everybody knows the same, and right now, doing the podcast, it's like, okay, everybody knows about that I'm talking about, but maybe no. So I think education for me is the key.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so it's getting pretty late. We recorded after work again, so お疲れ様です. I think our next this podcast, it's a 10-episode experiment for season 1. So our final episode next week is going to be about the experience of podcasting and kind of what we learned and what our takeaways were from it. Then we'll think about whether we're going to do a season 2 and where that's going to go. But thank you all for listening. So like us on Facebook and subscribe via Overcast and on iTunes, and rate us on iTunes and follow us on Twitter. And I think I must be forgetting like 5 social media funnels that we've set up. But thank you very much for listening. And bye-bye, Sergio.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.